Alright, I'm dumb. What are we talking about? It's cold as shit out. It's been like, it was like 1 degree yesterday when I got off work. It's snowing now. It's not fun. So I'm just dumb. Oh god. This video's kind of all over the place. Sorry guys. And I just realized it, so it's like I'm gonna have to mix and match in editing now. But yeah, I'm happy with Motor City Nerds. I don't think House Baratheon is the best, okay? I don't think any of the houses are the best, quote unquote, you know what I mean? But Robert Baratheon is one of my favorite characters in A Song of Ice and Fire for sure, because he's just so straightforward and such a badass. Like, he carries a warhammer, dude. A warhammer and, like, axes I appreciate. I always appreciate anybody who carries an axe, or just like something obscure, but like a warhammer's like, fuck you, dude, I'm here, and it's so heavy that like Ned can't pick it up, like barely and shit, like, and you're just out there throwing that motherfucker around like a badass, like, oh my god. And I realized how fucked up my banners are. Like, I've taken them everywhere, like they've hung off boats and shit, like they're all, this one, Baratheon's all fucked up because it's my favorite, so it's gone to Bonnaroo, and I put it in the washing machine, and I'm like, oh my god, dude. You're bad. You're fucked up. But it was like, yeah, I went to Bonnaroo. It went everywhere. I do love House Baratheon, and here are some reasons why. And like I said, this is going to go back and forth a little bit because it got all jacked up. So IMDb earlier this week posted a release month for House of the Dragon. It says April 2022. So it's coming, guys. It's happening. It's happening. Let me go fix this. And I have so many things to finish for you guys. Like, my life is just chaos. I'm sorry, guys. But no, I'm super pumped for this. I didn't think we'd get... I thought they would wait till... Honestly, I thought they were going to just make another announcement and say, hey, we're pushing it back to 2023. I kind of thought they were going to pull some shit, but they didn't. And nobody knows how it got put on IMDb. And I'm like, well, HBO had to give a statement, right? So, like, who else can tell a... I mean, IMDb isn't the most reliable thing, you know what I mean? But it's like, who else would change the release date, like, officially on the actual project? Not, like, posted in a thread. But yeah, besides the House of the Dragon news, my life is falling apart. Mom and I are going to recap Boba Fett. We really love Boba Fett a lot, and I heard that episode 5 is the best. I'm only caught up to 4. But it's great. It's really good. This is becoming too much. Like, why do you like these characters? And I'm like, what do you mean why? They're great. But Robert Baratheon is like a straight goon. He's just a badass. He's just awesome. That's what it is. But House Baratheon is a super cool house and doesn't get the respect it deserves, I feel like, because the Baratheons are related to House Targaryen. And I believe that I think I said this in a couple other videos. One of Daenerys' like grandmother or grandfather is brother or sister with Robert's. I think both their grandmothers were sisters. I could be totally wrong though. I should probably just look it up because I'm the one making the video. That was what was throwing me off. It is Robert's grandmother was the sister of both Daenerys, because we got Targaryens, fucking Targaryens, you know this. Both of her grandparents, so her grandfather and her grandmother, that married each other and had more kids. They're like second cousins or some shit. That's what was throwing me off. I was like, which one? I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Robert's grandmother, but who is whoever for Daenerys? And I'm like, I think it's the grandma. And I was like, no, I think it's the grandpa. And then it's like, no, it's both. Of course it is. It's Targaryens. Where I appreciate characters like Tywin, who are very smart and intelligent and strategic, I do appreciate a character who's just, I'm here to bash your skull in, because then I win. I told you I'm going to start a war if you don't stop pissing me off, and so I'm starting a war because you keep pissing me off, and then you kidnapped my bride-to-be. And Lyanna was no dumb bitch. She knew what Robert was, and she told Ned that. She was like, he's never gonna beat a one woman, Ned. And he's like, I fucking know. I fucking know. It's still my boy, though. And I respect that. This is like a theme with the Baratheons, though, is that they're just very, like, they're big, burly fighters, and they have a badass castle, Storm's End. Some of my favorite castles, I love River Run, because I thought they were going to do this in the show for a minute, because I was like, oh, this will get rid of the Lannister army, and then I was like, oh, but why would we do the whole army? Like, there were some qualms with it, but I love River Run, because just, like, the castle itself, where the Tullys live, and all of the castles in Game of Thrones, I will give George R. R. Martin this, they're very creative, like, the hot springs in Winterfell, and all these little things about them. There's a lot of detail about all of the castles, but I have favorite ones. River Run, because it can flood, they can lift up their shit, and it doesn't just make like a moat to keep somebody back, like a body of water. It literally makes the fucking castle an island, and you can they can essentially put a whole bunch of land underwater real quick, and that's why you can't really lay siege the way you would normally with a castle to River Run, because they could just drown you at any moment. And that's freaking badass. What a cool fucking defense thing. That's awesome. But other favorites, the Dreadfort, Roose Bolton's House Bolton. Yeah, the Dreadfort, Lord of the Dreadfort. That's a fucking cool name. And then Storm's End, which is the Baratheon's castle, which is extremely old, and can withstand a lot. It's like, it's big and ready to fight. That's how Storm's End is just a sweet name, like the Lady of Storm's End. Lord of Storm's End. What a cool fucking castle name. The Baratheons are black-haired and blue-eyed. Eye color has a big deal in the books. Like, the Lannisters are green. Green eyes. Green eyes. Blue eyes are normally Northerners-ish. Like, because the Starks are described as chips of ice. Like, chips of dirty ice. Like a gray, not a blue. It's important. Especially when we start getting into Allarys the Sphinx and shit like that, and the Martells, and we can get into the Dornish Master Plan. Let's go. Anyway, cool facts about the House Baratheon besides Robert being cool. So it was rumored that the first Baratheon to ever come over was half Targaryen, okay? It was the bastard brother of Aegon the Conqueror, who married Visenya and Rhaenys and created the Seven Kingdoms and created the Iron Throne and shit. Aegon the Conqueror, yeah. His half-brother, Orys Baratheon, was the first hand of the king and was the shit. There's no other way to put it. But Orys was, when they first announced that they were doing a Targaryen show, and at first I thought it was going to be Aegon's conquest, I got real excited to see Orys, because Orys would have been like the normal guy. It's kind of like Corlys Velaryon in this show, in the House of the Dragon that's coming out. That's going to be like the person that we can kind of relate to in this huge group of people that can ride dragons and all this shit. And he's like, no, I'm the shit, but I can't do that. And so he's like a regular dude, and you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I wanted to see if they did Aegon's Conquest, was with Orys Baratheon, though. Because he's this average dude that is in the family, and is important, but he doesn't have a dragon and shit. But House Baratheon has legit been there from the very fucking beginning of the Seven Kingdoms being put together. Also, this is why they are considered to have king's blood in their veins. This is why the spells work and shit, is because they literally have king's blood in their veins, because they're part Targaryen. Like, their house derives from the same thing. It's the blood of Old Valyria, the blood of the gods, yada yada yada. So within a group of these people with the crazy abilities and dragons, all the shit, and he holds his own. He's still a big deal. What happens with him, though, is, so Aegon is flying around on his dragon up here, and he's bringing them into the kingdoms. Visenya, she's flying around on her dragon over here on this part of Westeros, and she's bringing all them in. Rhaenys, she's flying around over here, and she's bringing them into the fold and figuring that out, and then she gets killed. But either way, she's over here on her dragon doing shit. Orys Baratheon, he's told, go over here to the Stormlands and take this fucking castle for me. Now, at the time, Westeros was split up into 7 different kingdoms, so all these people are kings, and they have to bring them in. Like, that's what's going down. So it's essentially, we're showing up. If you don't fucking submit to us, we're going to burn everything to the ground, so make your choice. When Orys Baratheon got to the Stormlands to take Storm's End, he met the king there was Argilac the Arrogant, and he was a fucking asshole. And he had a daughter, and we'll get to that in a minute because it's sweet. So Orys Baratheon sends a messenger to Argilac the Arrogant. He ends up getting his hands cut off, I believe. Either way, he gets offed, and a body part gets sent back to Orys Baratheon. And Orys Baratheon is like, you don't do that. You don't kill the messenger. That's fucked up. So Orys Baratheon is like, no, now I want to fight you. It's on. So after they beef it out, Argilac dies. His daughter takes over and is like, no, I'm Queen of the fucking Storm, like Queen of Storms. I think that's what she calls herself. She's a fucking badass. Argella, she's sweet. And this is House Durrandon, not House, because obviously House Baratheon is coming for them. And eventually her household guard turns on her and takes her to Orys Baratheon all tied up. And instead of being a douchebag, he's super nice to her and unties her and is like, yeah, don't do that to ladies. That's not okay. She's like, what the fuck? And then he's like, no, I like you. And so then they get together and he becomes Lord of Storm's End. House Baratheon is created. It's fucking awesome. He was a badass too. Argella was like, no, fuck that shit. Like, I'm not kneeling to you and I'm going to hold you off. Oh, because they got scared. That's what happened. The household guard got scared because of Harrenhal. So that's what I mean here. Like, these people just showed up. They have dragons and they just burned the biggest castle in the country to nothing. They're going to fuck us up. I always like that. And then I always really liked when she gets brought to his tent and he's like, yeah, no, I'm going to untie you and be nice to you and you held your own and you're awesome and I like you. I like it a lot. It's awesome. Words are ours is the fury. That's awesome. Robert's dad is Stefan Baratheon and then his mom is an Estermont, but they both die. I think when he's old, when he's like a teenager or something, but they got on a ship and they went east or something, and on their way back, they were getting something. They got Patchface. Okay, long story short with Patchface, if you didn't read the books. Patchface is a character that is in the books, and he originally, I think he was a normal person and was fine until this happened, but Robert's parents go to the east on a boat, and I think they bought Patchface to do something, or they hired him to do something else. This is a person, Patchface. And on the way back to Westeros, the ship sinks. Robert's parents die. The only person to survive this shipwreck is this dude that they bought, and he's covered in tattoos, which probably signifies it in the books, at least, that he's a slave. And I don't think being a fool was his original purpose. I can't remember what a Patchface was, but the trick with Patchface in the books, if you're reading it, is that everybody thinks he's like a dimwit and is dumb and doesn't know shit, and he's got all this brain damage and he's saying crazy shit, but the truth is he's not saying crazy shit, and everything he says makes sense and fits into the books somehow. Somebody who thinks that Lord Commander Mormont's Raven is the most important character in the entire series, and everybody's overlooking him. Yeah, no, Patchface says, like, wild shit, and people are like, oh, yeah, they're gibberish over there. And then it's like, no, if you really look into it, they all fit into the story somewhere. Like, it's crazy. But I liked this a lot. And this is what I mean. Like, whoever was paying attention to the small little details in the last season of Game of Thrones, they gave a shit. Like, because this was, nobody would know what this is unless you read it. And probably read it more than once. The song at the end credits that Shireen Baratheon, that actress, sings about, I know, and they're at the bottom of the water or some shit. She's singing quotes that Patchface had in the books. Yeah, I noticed that because I was like, I know these lyrics. And then I was like, oh my god, that's Patchface. And I was like, oh my god, they're dropping a Patchface reference on the show? Because Patchface is with Shireen Baratheon in the books, so it fits. That character has it. Like, I liked that. I was like, I don't know who decided that, but I like it. Where my Dark Tower people at, the number 19 is coming up a lot. I'm just saying. But Robert and Ned got super tight because they both were being fostered at the Eyrie. And I always thought it was odd that Robert was, because he's the oldest. But then again, at the same time, it's like, it's a sign of respect. Like, so I get it. It's like, oh, the firstborn son. Like, that's a big deal. Because Ned's the second. But when Tywin pulled the reins of Castamere, you know, the song they always sing, like the situation that made that song be created, Tywin did that when he was 19. And we go into detail in that video. But I thought it was very interesting that Robert became king at 19. I was like, oh, 19 must be a big birthday in Westeros. When we find out if you're going to be sacking cities or overthrowing empires, or if you're just going to be diddly squat, apparently. But Robert and Ned were little kids together with Jon Arryn, who, the titty baby, we talked about the titty baby, the kid that drinks milk till he's 10, the moon door, we chuck people out of it, the Eyrie, over there. Jon Arryn was her husband, Titty Baby's dad. He's the dead hand of the king at the very beginning of the show that causes Robert to ask Ned to be hand of the king. But that's the Eyrie. That's his castle. That's his house. And they're a big deal. They're like version of a knight in Westeros. The ground foundation for where that comes from is the Knights of the Vale, the Eyrie. So that's a cool little piece of info. And it's kind of like a big deal as to why they show up at the Battle of the Bastards, because it's like, if you know, you don't have to know that little bit of information. When they show up at the Battle of the Bastards, you're like, oh shit, they got backup. They're going to be good. But if you read the books, you know, no, the Knights of the Vale are like a big deal. Like, they're gonna fuck your day up. Like, they're like badass fighters, and that's what they're like known for. Then we get to Robert's Rebellion. Now, essentially what happened was, the Mad King was losing it, so Daenerys' dad was losing his shit already, pissing Tywin off. Tywin runs away from King's Landing. He's like, I'm going back to Casterly Rock. I don't know what the fuck is up with this guy, and he's touching my wife, and I don't like it. So the Mad King is already losing his shit, all on his own. He's already got people around him seeing him lose his shit, and they're like, we gotta fix this. And so then they have a secret plotty party at Harrenhal for everybody to get together and talk about how they are going to essentially get rid of the Mad King, but the Targaryens were involved with that. They wanted to get rid of him too. They were like, he's losing his shit. All I'm saying is that people around Aerys Targaryen were already trying to overthrow him, and they were already trying to get somebody new in power, and they were like, fuck, we need to get Rhaegar up there, because this guy's losing it. Robert was like, no, fuck this shit, as soon as his shit happened. So it was a totally separate situation that Robert came in and just destroyed this house that was already like, we gotta get rid of this guy. What happens is Lyanna Stark is kidnapped by Rhaegar Targaryen. I don't think that Rhaegar loves Lyanna, but that's just my fucking take on it. I really don't. I think that Rhaegar they had like a prophecy or something. I think that he had a vision, or he read something somewhere, and he knows to bring fire and ice together. You're gonna have to make shit happen, and I think he knew, I gotta get with Lyanna Stark. Or at least thought it was possible. That Lyanna was just probably infatuated with this fancy guy showing up and being like, oh, I love you, and she's like, oh, okay, and you're stupid and young, I get it. And there's always the option that maybe he did love her. I don't know, maybe he did, I don't know. It's just my take on it. But either way, Lyanna Stark's gone. Robert is supposed to marry Lyanna, and he's like, not today. And he's all pissed. Robert and Ned are all pissed at the Eyrie, chilling. Up at Winterfell, so across the country, Ned's dad and brother are like, you know what, we're going to go south and talk to this fucking king. So they go to King's Landing. That is where Mad King Aerys put Brandon Stark, so Ned's older brother, into a machine that from the East, that the more you struggled, the more it strangles you. And he told him, if you can get your dad put out, because I'm going to light him on fire, I'll let you both go. And so he puts him into this machine and lights his dad on fire in front of his own eyes while the entire court watches. And Brandon fought and fought and fought until he died, and that's what happened. And Ned was like, well, now I'm fucking real mad, so let's do this, Robert. And Robert's like, it's on. Call the banners, bitch. Let's do this. Let's run it. I think Robert was like 17 when the war started, some shit like that. 17's a big number too in Game of Thrones, but 19 is a bigger deal to me. If you've read The Dark Tower, you know. But I'm just saying, I think that Ned and Robert were around like 17 years old or some shit when this happens. And then when at 19, like a year and a half, 2 years later, is when Robert took the actual throne and won. But yeah, so that's what happened. And Robert only lost, and I thought this was interesting too, and I've talked about this in several videos. The episode that's titled The Bells in the show, The Bells is the title of the only battle that House Targaryen won against Robert Baratheon. So I thought that was, I like that. Like, whoever titled the episodes of the final season, they knew their shit. Notice, to everybody who hates on the fact that I love Tywin, when Tywin was in the capital, we weren't burning people alive and shit because somebody was there to keep this man in check. But now you got Tywin gone and crazy has taken over the fucking castle. Just a little something to recognize about Tywin. This is why I wanted them to do Robert's Rebellion, but I keep saying that I would like it to be a mini-series and just do like 4 or 5 really good, cool episodes that are well choreographed, because we already know what happens. Robert wins. That's my thing with prequels. I'm like, we know where they end up. Why are you doing this? Unless you're giving me something new, why are you doing this? So I was like, do even 3, just like 3 like really good, really well choreographed, like maybe longer, like mini-series of Robert's Rebellion. Not a full thing. Get the Mad King out. And then it was like, shit, here comes Robert Baratheon. And I always thought that was very interesting, that it wasn't just like, Robert didn't just have a, there wasn't just Robert's Rebellion going on. It's like, no, people were already well aware of the Mad King's behavior and how it needed to stop. Robert Baratheon just don't want to hear no bullshit. And for all the shit people give Robert, he is he doesn't care about being king. Like, that doesn't make you a good king or a good ruler, and it doesn't make it, but it's like, he never wanted to rule. We get to the Battle of the Trident, and I've talked about this before. The Battle of the Trident is fucking sweet, and Robert was a giant motherfucker already, and he wore a helmet with gigantic stag horns on it, so he was like 8 feet tall, they said, on the battlefield, and it's like, that's scary. Wields a warhammer. The way he kills Rhaegar Targaryen, and I'm one of those people that I kind of don't think Rhaegar's dead. The way he kills Rhaegar Targaryen is he smashed his breastplate into his chest and crushed it with the fucking warhammer. Do you know how hard a breastplate is? Do you know, that's like fucking metal and shit. That's fucking sweet. I'm sorry. That's some like Mortal Kombat fatality shit. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's like shattering bones. Like, that's what they said. They said that it caved in his entire suit of armor and crushed him, and that all of the rubies that made up the dragon on it got knocked the fuck out. And if you know rubies, you know that they tie into magic in Westeros. So I'm like, I'm one of those people that I'm like, I kind of think that Rhaegar's alive. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying, Robert wields a goddamn warhammer, and he's 8 feet tall on the battlefield, and it's like, that's some intense shit coming at you. The way Robert kills Rhaegar is just absolutely savage. Then he marries Cersei and takes the throne. That's about it. And then we get into Game of Thrones era a little bit down the line. Like, I think Robert had like 17 years, but that's the thing too, is like, I'm like, is he the best king ever? No. But he didn't, like, he had years of peace, and it seemed okay. I mean, it's not the greatest system, but it seemed okay when Robert was around. But I love, and besides just Robert and just House Baratheon in general, like, Stannis is a great character. Like, that's a great character. And Renly's a great character, but Renly just knows how to put on a show for everybody, and I respect that about Renly. I really do. They're not here to bullshit with you. I'm here to tell you what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it. Stannis says he's going to attack the castle, whether he has 2 people with him or 200,000. He's going to fucking do it, because that's what the Baratheons fucking do. They nut up or they shut up. And I do appreciate characters like that and a whole house like that. Like, and like I said, Storm's End, that's awesome. In honor of House of the Dragon news and everything else, I thought I'd talk about Robert Baratheon. I really did I thought I had a whole other video, but apparently I don't. I really thought I did. And then I was like, okay, yeah, my life's falling apart. I'm trying to get videos out to you guys. I'm trying to edit on this thing, and then I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Nice. Oh my god, that was perfect. But all the houses have like little things that I love about them. I really do. But I love Robert Baratheon. I do. I appreciate him as a character. I love him. But yeah, I'm trying to get videos out to you guys. I really am. I think I have a couple of things posted from like last week, or a couple weeks ago, of like Moon Knight and all that. Started playing on Twitch. Right now I'm doing a walkthrough of Final Fantasy X, if anybody wants to check that out. But it's pretty funny when I'm playing Blitzball, I will say that. I've never streamed before, and it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. It's a pretty good time. They had down in the description, too, with my other social media stuff, but I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing over there, but I think it's Abby Anarchy 313, but the CH in Anarchy is a K. And I feel like Twitch told me I had to do that because I never do that. I try to keep everything the same on all of my social media. And people are asking me, they're like, why are you called that? And I was like, oh, that's from like MySpace days. I don't know. We're having fun over on Twitch. It's a good time. And I'll put the link down in the description with this. I'll put the link to the first Final Fantasy X video because that's all I have on there. I'd love to do a bunch of videos just talking about little tidbits of information about different houses. It's just fun. And you could like revisit every house because every house has like different little pieces of information or something connects somewhere. All of them have that. And it's just, that's part of the fun of reading the A Song of Ice and Fire series. I am super pumped for this and people think I'm not because I give it so much shit. But I'm like, no, it's because I love it that I give it shit. I'm pumped for it. I honestly, I kind of thought they might do something in April, but I'm like, I don't know if they will. Definitely thought it would take the Sunday night slot, and I don't know if they already announced that or not. All I know is that IMDb has a release date up now, and you know how I feel about the A Song of Ice and Fire community. They are going to pounce on it and make 75 videos a piece out of it about the thoughts and opinions and possibilities of the new date. I love this fandom. I'm a part of this fandom. It's just they can be some passive-aggressive snooties, and I'm like, dude, stop. We're yelling about made-up houses. Calm down. To comment and like and subscribing is huge. I can't believe we're almost at 400 subscribers. Like, seriously, thank you guys so much. I don't know. I really, really, really appreciate it. And they say getting your first 1,000 subscribers is like the hardest part of YouTube. And I'm like, I'm having fun. I'm having a good time. And we're going to do some kind of giveaway at 400. I don't know what exactly it's going to be yet. I don't know. We'll do something. We'll figure it out. But yeah, no, I really appreciate it. But commenting, liking, disliking, that all helps me a lot. Thank you if you subscribed. If you want to subscribe, feel free. I'm Abby. I'm new at this, and I'm trying to figure out what to do and what to talk about. Oh, yeah, my Peaky Blinders video did pretty good. I'm real excited for Peaky Blinders. Are we all pumped for Peaky Blinders? Yeah, no, that's a big deal to me, and I appreciate it a lot. Like, you guys have no idea. And yeah, let me know what you guys, leave a comment of what you want to hear me talk about. I'm going to record some more, and oh yeah, I'm still doing the Harry Potter videos, the comparisons to the books, and the movies and the book comparisons. I got to catch up on Boba Fett. It's going to be a long day, but I'm going to stay up and I'm going to crank shit out. I enjoy it though.